Trash, Part 5, Chapter 2. Raphael, Gardo, and Junjun. Rat. We'd been looking in the wrong place, and the fool of a guard who took our money must have known, or must have thought we knew the cemetery and didn't bother to explain, or was just too lazy. The cemetery, you see, is divided by a wall, and that was the wall we were sitting on. The wall divides the rich quarter, where the dead get buried in earth, from the poor quarter, where the dead get stacked up in boxes. We'd wasted the day walking among the rich, when we should have been on the other side of the wall. The brightest light was the poor part of the cemetery, where thousands of candles were coming together, as everyone streamed in after work. It was bright as day, bright as a furnace, and the candles were moving in great rivers as people made their way to their loved ones. It was like a little town down there, with narrow streets through all the tombs. B24/8 would be the number of one of the concrete boxes. Raphael. I remember Gardo looking at me and smiling, and then Rat gave me a hug because we'd cracked it again. We jumped down and came to a little broken doorway that let you into the other side. Right away, we saw a sign in the candlelight. High up on one of the grave stacks, it said G9, so we moved past it, trying to work out the system. It really was like a town. People lived in this part of the cemetery. They had houses there. There were little shanties built around the back of the grave boxes. There were shacks up on top, too. Little huts and bits of plastic. And to get to them, you climbed ladders. We could see kids running on the tops with a kite, getting it up into the typhoon breeze. So many people always, and it struck me again what my auntie used to say. There is nowhere people will not live. We passed so many graves. Saddest were the open ones, the ones that were broken up open, and everyone knows that story, and I found myself looking away. Each little concrete hole cost the family $2,005 for 5 years. You cannot buy a box, you see. You can only rent one. After 5 years, you pay again, or the box is taken back, and people move away, or people spend the money, and sometimes the payment just doesn't get made. So what happens? The sledgehammer is what happens. They break open the seal, and out comes the body. There's a part of the cemetery where old bones are thrown and left to rot amongst the trash. Somebody's child or somebody's grandma out on the rubbish like a dog. The empty holes scared me because nothing is more sad than that, and I didn't want to look. They leave the bodies in there for a few weeks sometimes, hoping they'll be claimed, because I guess nobody likes throwing people away like that. Gardo. I was working it out, though. I led them round the back and talked to some kids perched up on the grave stacks. They pointed, and we found the track that was D, then C, then B. So then we came along counting, 15, 20, 22. 4 graves up, and there she was. We found her. Maria Angelico, wife of Jose Angelico, picked out on a little stone plaque. Raphael and me climbed up and leaned in to read, because the words under the name were small. The brightest light, they said, and I went cold, because those words were the ones we'd been following, and what we'd seen, and it was all coming together. We were close to the end. Around the words were scorch marks from the candles that had been lit. Raphael read the words out to Rat, calling out loud, because there were people everywhere, and a lot of drinking going on, and a lot of laughter. I looked at the box underneath, and I called that out too. Eladio Ho Angelico, I said, my good, good son. Raphael grabbed me and said, We're where we're supposed to be. This is his boy. I said, I know that. That was clear. But I was also thinking, what's there to find? We found the poor man's family grave. Is that really such a big deal? This sad man whose face we first saw when we found a wallet on the dump site, he loses his wife and his boy, and we're poking around hunting his money? You couldn't have hidden it here. We're where we should be, I said, but he can't have put it in a grave. I agree, said Rat. How would he do it? What's that one there? Said Raphael, looking up. Is that his as well? He was looking at the stone above the man's wife, and I had to climb higher up to see that one. It was clean and new, and the words were harder to read because the light was bad. So Rat handed me a candle, and I figured them out slowly, Raphael helping. Seeds, I said. Something about those seeds again. Then it says, to harvest my child, it is something long, I can't see. A accomplished, we said together. It is accomplished, I said. It is accomplished. Love and hope. And there's a name, just a little name. And I traced it with my finger. Raphael. The name on the stone was Pia, then Dante. Pia Dante. I looked down at Rat. Oh, my, I said, and I felt so sad. That's the little girl. I thought of the photo of the little schoolgirl with her wandering eyes and felt so bad. We'd all thought she was alive, or at least hoped she was. Rat said, He lost everything, man. He was sending her to school, I said. That's what the paper said. It was in the letter, too, said Gardo. The letter to Mr. Alondras. If it comes to your hand, then you know I am taken. Ask after my daughter, please. Use any influence you have, for I am afraid for Piedante. We were quiet a moment, and then I jumped down. What now, I said. What are we expecting to find here? What do we do? Gardo said, I don't know. I said, a message, maybe? Look for another message? Where? Said Rat. Where's he going to put it? We all looked around wildly, maybe thinking there'd be a letter or some other clue, but it seemed pretty hopeless. It all seemed like a dead end. We've got this far, said Gardo, getting angry like he does. There must be something. Nothing, said Rat. Where's there to look? And what are we looking for? I think he was taken and killed before he could do anything. Maybe the police have been and got it, I said. They tracked it other ways, maybe. Gardo sat down again. Why is this so crazy? He said. I sat next to him, and we thought and thought, but there was nothing to think. Then, right by us, a big family arrived, pressing into the graves with a load of candles and a cooking stove, so we moved off across the path and found a quieter place higher up. Look, I said, I couldn't let it go. If he had all that money, if he got away with it, if he really had a fridge full of money, are we thinking he buried it here with his wife and kids? Why would he do that? To come back later and get it, said Rat. No one's going to break open a paid-for grave, are they? The police would, said Gardo. They had even one slight suspicion. That's why the code. If the police had got the letter we got, if they did what we did, went to the prison and saw Mr. Gabriel, he would not have let on about the Bible and the book code. So they would never have got this far. He smiled and said what we all knew. That man was smart. Okay, said Rat. So Jose Angelico knew he could trust Gabriel Alondras. Gabriel's like the guardian of it. Without him, it's never found. If it's in there, even. You think it's in there? I said. It's in one of them, said Gardo. Maybe. You want to break open 3 graves? I said. I couldn't believe I was even thinking about it. I knew I couldn't do it. Gardo stood up then. He walked up and down, and I could see him thinking so hard his eyes were bulging, getting madder and madder. It can't be, he said. You don't do that, do you? You don't bust open your family grave. What about an empty one? Maybe there's a broken one nearby. We looked around, and there were several. You could see what looked like trash or maybe bones. Who wanted to sort through that? One thing for sure was they weren't places you'd leave anything valuable. Gardo was beginning to really lose his cool, and I could see why. We'd come all this way and had the police all over us. He'd been almost taken, fought his way out, and all for nothing. He looked at me and said, What do we do, Raphael? And I didn't know. I just looked at him, and Rat was looking from him to me, then back again. It was just at that moment, as we were gazing around, that we heard a voice. It was a small voice, and it was calling down to us, and was almost blown away by the wind, but we just caught the sound and looked up to see a tiny little girl. What are you looking for? She said.